And that's a perfect intro to our next guest. Alex there for us in Washington. Appreciate it. Theresa Payton, meantime, was the White House Chief Information Officer for former President George W. Bush. She's now CEO of Fortalice Solutions, and she joins us now from Charlotte, North Carolina via Skype. A good person to talk to you. I know when you were in office, perhaps this sort of thing was in its infancy. You point out that, look, you need the 3 R's: resiliency, reliability, recoverability. I would add redundancy to that. The fact that when you have one system and it is rendered impotent, you need to be able to backtrack and go to another. How do you interpret, first off, what happened yesterday with the Department of Justice saying that they were able to recover some of that ransom?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and it's a partial win in the win column for the good guys that some of that money was clawed back. It's certainly a small percentage of the overall money that was taken from companies that were victims of the dark side syndicate over the course of the span of their lifetime, which was really late summer of 2020. So in less than a year, they encompassed quite a treasure chest, doing the same thing to other organizations that they did to Colonial Pipeline. I love the fact that they basically followed the money, which is not easy to do. I've worked on these cryptocurrency cases in the past where you try to follow the money. And you just have to follow every single digital track and do your link analysis and sometimes you get lucky and the criminals make a mistake, and that leads you to figuring out who owned the wallet or potentially a way to get into the wallet. But you're right, the whole redundancy conversation needs to happen, and it can't just be that you create backups where the cyber criminals can get access to them. You have to create backups that are actually stored out of band, because what we're seeing in the cases that we have worked at Fortalice is the cyber criminals study you, they know where your backups are, they take data that they know is valuable to you, they steal it, they lock up your backups, then they lock up your main systems, then they tell you you're a victim.
Yeah, it is incredible, the level of sophistication and the fact that companies have not really been able to keep up. You know, you identified ransomware, as you said, the carbon monoxide, really. It's poison in the system. It's stealthy, it's silent, it's deadly. What do you think the best course of action is now? I mean, I know the Biden administration is going ahead with a task force, but this is a global problem.
It is a global problem. You hit the nail on the head, and it is an all of the above type of answer here. We need international courts. We need to get together with other countries. I'm hoping that President Biden, in every single conversation that he has while he's overseas, talks about an attack against one company in one country is an attack against all of us, and that countries need to come together. We need an international accord to basically come up with a way to combat and defend against this. Secondly, for businesses, we have to stop saying to businesses, you're on your own, you're your own cavalry right now, and that when they're a victim, you should do more and you should do better. Yes, we all need to do more and do better, but we need to continue to put into place innovative, creative, out-of-the-box thinking around solving for this problem. Wouldn't it be incredible if a company like Colonial Pipeline, should they fall prey to an attack like this, if they could go to a rapid response team that says, you know what, I'm going to create decryptor keys for you. Don't pay, give me a couple of days. I have the best and the brightest minds on this, and I'll give you the encryption key, and we'll figure things out on the back end. And then lastly, I'm finding it very disturbing as I talk to victims of ransomware. One of the things that they are confiding in us in is, one, they're being told that oftentimes paying ransom is considered cheaper than going through a recovery effort, so they're being encouraged to pay the ransom. Secondly, they are so afraid of the legal costs from the lawsuits, the penalties, the regulations, the oversight, that they're being encouraged by both internal and external counsel that paying the ransom when there's extortion involved about leaking the data may be cheaper for them than the legal battles they'll face after the fact. I find this highly objectionable, and I think it says that we have to change our thinking and make it less attractive to want to pay, you know, not have companies backed into a corner feeling like it's their only option.
Yeah, and if you wonder if the threat of punitive damages or something like that would be something that would tell companies, look, we got to. That CEO was compelling though from Colonial Pipeline, right? I mean, he said, "What did you expect me to do?" The infrastructure was crumbling on the East Coast that is completely seized up.
Yeah, and there's a real challenge because we heard the commitment to security spending, but many organizations, Colonial Pipeline is not alone, they have a vast amount of technical debt. They have systems that need to be updated or retired. And in this case, the forensics is still ongoing, but in this case, it appears that a legacy remote access protocol was part of the downfall of Colonial Pipeline to this ransomware syndicate known as DarkSide.
And it raises a good question internally in these companies, as we've seen disclosed, how much are they actually paying to update their systems and how much is that going into their cost structure? A fascinating conversation, Theresa Payton, for us. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.